Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to start the meeting today by calling on all of the committee chairs to adopt their minutes. I'd like to begin with Bob Jones to convene the Academic Affairs Committee for adoption of their minutes.
Probably one of the few times I'm going to lead off on anything. I'd like to call the Academic Affairs Committee to order. Kim, will you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Trustee Jones?
Here.
Trustee Terry?
Here.
Trustee Pomeroy?
Here. All right. Have you had a chance to review our minutes of our our May the 8th meeting? Are there any corrections or additions? Can I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, this meeting is adjourned.
I'd now like to call on Susan O'Connor to convene the Audit and Operations Committee for adoption of their minutes.
I would like to call our meeting to order. Kim, would you give us a roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Trustee O'Connor?
Here.
Trustee Dana? Trustee Walton?
Present.
Two are present.
My committee has all been given ample time to review the minutes of the May 8th committee meeting. And if there are no corrections or additions, could I have a motion to approve as
So
presented?
moved.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. If there are no further items to discuss, this meeting is adjourned. Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Now calling Jay Patel to convene the Student Affairs Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Call the meeting to order. Ms. Brown, can you call roll call, please?
Trustee Patel?
Here.
Trustee Hill? Here. Trustee May? Trustee May is here. I have seen him. May proceed.
Okay, thank you. You've had an ample opportunity to review the minutes from the May 8th, the committee meeting. If there are no corrections or changes, may I have a motion to approve?
Move to.
I guess I'll second on behalf of Trustee May. Any discussions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, there are no other discussions. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is Trustee O'Sullivan on the line?
Yes.
I'd like to call on Ward O'Sullivan to convene the Finance Committee.
Call the meeting to order. Kim, would you roll call, please?
Trustee O'Sullivan?
Here.
Trustee Cleveland?
Here.
Trustee Lewis? Here. All present.
You've all been given ample time to review the minutes of the May 8th committee meeting. If there are no corrections or changes, may I have a motion to approve as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? If there are no further items to discuss, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. I'd now like to call the full Board of Trustees meeting to order. Are there any trustees on the line other than Trustee O'Sullivan? I'd like to call on Kim Brown to call the roll.
Chairman Bear?
Here.
Trustee Cleveland?
Here.
Trustee Dana? Trustee Hill? Here. Trustee Jones?
Here.
Trustee Lewis?
Here.
Trustee May? Trustee O'Connor?
Here.
Trustee O'Sullivan?
Here.
Trustee Patel?
Here.
Trustee Pomeroy?
Here.
Trustee Terry?
Here.
Trustee Walton?
Here.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. This is the last meeting for Dr. Marrero, and Certainly, we want to recognize him and thank him for the service that he's given to the University of West Florida. He will be leaving towards the end of this month to go to the University of West Georgia, and we'll miss him. At the same time, I want to welcome Dr. Brendan Kelly. Where's Brendan? There he is. It's hard to miss. And who will officially be taking over on July the 1st. And we look forward to working with you and seeing the fine results that we certainly know you will achieve. Thank you. I'd also like to welcome Chris Hill, the Student Government Association President. We're glad to have you. We've got some big shoes to fill, if no other way than trying to overcome the expectations that we have of the big smile from Cora Barrett.
His shoes are too small for him, man.
Do what?
His shoes are too small. Her shoes are.
All right. Chris is an MBA student here at UWF, and we welcome him. I'd also like to welcome my good friend, Timothy May, who is a new trustee, and we look forward to having you on our board. Timothy is a graduate of UWF. He also worked at UWF after his graduation, so we welcome you back and welcome you to the Board of Trustees. We're happy to be webcasting today's meeting, and I'd like to call on President Judy Benz for her report.
Thank you, Chairman Bear. It is my pleasure to also welcome some folks in the audience and at the table. Trustee Hill, I want to welcome you. One of the things I want you all to know, trustees, is that he has a degree in math from the University of West Florida, so no numbers are going to escape him. Number two, he's learned about business in our stellar MBA program, as Chairman Bear told you. But he is interested in the world of politics for the future, and he is very well spoken. He's very good representative of the University of West Florida, as a trustee Cora Merritt was. And he has leadership experience. I think he's going to be a real good representative of our student body and of the university. So I welcome him. And I also want to welcome Trustee May. As you know, if you've been watching the news lately, Trustee May is a man of many missions. He is a pastor at the Friendship Missionary Baptist Church. He also runs the City of Pensacola's Community Outreach Program, which promotes diversity within the city's workforce and the vendors. Reverend May is also, his third hat, is the executive director of the Dixon School of Arts. And I want to personally welcome Timothy. Your family and your father have been very important to Pensacola, both in its past and in its present. And we appreciate you willing to add a fourth hat to your life, taking care of the University of West Florida. I also want to welcome someone in the audience, Patrice Moore. Patrice, would you stand up for a second? Thank you. She is our new Director of Retention Initiatives. Trustees, you've heard us talk about retention being our #1 priority in the this year and in the coming year, and Patrice has got empty shoes to fill. She's going to design them, she's going to walk in them, and she's going to take us to where we need to be. I also will welcome, of course, Dr. Brendan Kelly. He is, I want to tell you a little bit about him. He is going to be Dr. Marrero's replacement. He will be in that seat next time. And what I want, I've appointed him the interim vice president for the Division of Advancement. Here he comes in now. He will do several things. He will be our chief philanthropic officer. He will also direct the Division of Advancement, which has how many staff members?
Up now to 60 plus.
60, right. And he also will lead the West Florida Historic Preservation, Inc. Board and their initiatives. They will report to him. Also, the great UWF Media Services is also under his purview. He comes to us since, he's been here since 2004, and his forte is political rhetoric and debate. He can hold his own with a smile, and he is the director of the School of Fine and Performing and Communication Arts. I'm delighted to welcome him, and he will be a great addition to your board of our vice presidents. And of course, we have to say goodbye to Kyle. It is with, what do we call this? It's a mixed blessing. It's happy and sad. Kyle was my first pick as a vice president. Back when the recession was at its worst, the banks were about to fail, the government was bailing out, we had our worst cut in history.
It wasn't my fault.
No, nobody was given anything. They were all worried about going broke. Well, I was too, watching the stock market tank. And I picked up the phone one afternoon and called him up in Iowa where he was doing summer opera and asked him if he would serve the University of West Florida in one of the tougher roles. He didn't, I think you thought about it overnight, but he said yes, of course, and he has been a wonderful addition, guiding us through the worst recession in our existence, and doing it well, making progress more than anyone else in this area, raising money, and also making friends. He has also kept friends that have gone through hard times, understood what our friends are going through in hard times, and I appreciate, and so does our community, appreciate that. I knew from the very get-go, especially after about a year, Kyle would make a wonderful president. And I began giving him positions and responsibilities that were really not in the purview of the Director of Advancement, but that were university-wide, that would give him experience, so that he would see the university and have to bring together people across the university as a whole. And he did that. They were tough, the toughest assignments I gave out. And of course, I didn't expect it to work quite so well, and for him to get the first job he even looked at as president. But it worked, and I'm very happy for you. We will miss you. You know that, and thank you. West Georgia is in our athletic conference, the Gulf South Athletic Conference, as our athletic director walks in, and we hope to beat you at every opportunity. We also will welcome you back, and you will be, let's just say, a friendly foe. And but anyway, thank you, Kyle.
And you can be a guest at the President's Box in the football stadium.
Oh, man. Oh! That wasn't right, Lois. That wasn't right. All right. Thank you. Now, let's...
We may not welcome him back to
I want to bring you up to date, trustees, on a little bit of federal and state news, just to give you an overview. One of the things that's going to could affect our students is that the student loan rate, the federally subsidized student loans, could double next year from 3.4 to 6.8%. It's been in the pipeline for a long time. They deferred it this year of sequestration, and it will mean the difference in our students if they do not find a bipartisan solution to this in Washington and in Congress. It will cost our students about an extra $1,000 if they take out loans for their education. On the other hand, sequestration hasn't hurt, other than that, a potential hit, sequestration hasn't hurt UWF too much. The universities that is hurt have been the research institutions. That's where National Science Foundation, the National Institute of Health, and other national research government organizations have seriously cut back their grants. And it's affecting the research faculty and the research of faculty at Research One institutions at a terrific rate. So if there's any little silver lining, that's it. I also want to tell you that President Don Gates and Speaker Weatherford are going to be on our campus tomorrow afternoon. They're making a tour of the Panhandle together, and they're going to be at 3:30 in the College of Business, and they want to know a little bit about UWF's impact on the professional workforce development in our region. And of course, we will thank them and bring them up to date on the things that we have been doing that are relevant to that. Janice's legislative agenda briefing later will give you more details. Now I want to talk to you about the campus news. We will welcome a new person to our executive staff, Dr. Jeffrey Gaiman. She will be the new Assistant Vice President for Enrollment Affairs. And she and Provost are joined at the head, the heart, and the hip, and are putting their arms around our enrollment issues and growing enrollment, having a study done on what it should look like, and I'm very happy that you've made a great pick. And no pressure at all, you understand, right. She will be here on July the 15th. She'll be responsible for recruitment, admissions, financial aid, records, registration, campus-wide enrollment management, and oversight. Big position. Next topic is that we had our commencement. Many of you were there. We graduated over 1,600 students, and we're very proud of that. If you read the news lately, we got a nice article and editorial last week on our partnership with Ferry Pass Elementary School, who we signed an agreement with last year, a partnership. It just so happened that the day Chairman Bear and I met with the governor on another issue was that editorial was in the paper, and I gave it to him and showed him that the kind of activity that our College of Education our School of Education is doing to work on the problem, not the symptoms of the problem, but the problem of college readiness. And part of college readiness is being able to read at grade level. And our first-year teacher, Philip Ebert, who was also a great baseball player on our national championship team, he's teaching over at Ferry Pass, and he volunteered to be the first classroom for the class-wide peer tutoring system. So it is working. We're getting attaboys for it, and that is the kind of thing that we are known for, is working on the problem and finding a solution for it, not working on the symptoms. Another aspect I know is important is West Florida Historic Preservation, Inc. and Gulf Power Company and UWF have partnered to form a multicultural resource center. Gulf Power and the Southern Company has given us $605,000 to transform one of our own downtown properties, the Beacon Building. It's across from Seville Square on Government, and to turn it into a facility called the Voices of Pensacola, and it will be dedicated to a multicultural resource center. Genealogy, old photos, local archives, the Pensacola Historical Society archives are there. It will be free and open to the public. It also will be an event center, so people will have a place to have talks and lectures, seminars, and maybe a party or two. And so we're very happy that's happened. We thank you very much, Bentina, and your company for making that happen. And we appreciate it for years to come. Another thing you will see, as you saw today, you'll see orientation signs all over, welcoming new students and their families to campus. All the new freshmen have to come to an orientation session, and they are here. It started on June the 6th, and it will run throughout the summer. So you'll see them in carts. You'll see them yesterday with umbrellas, going around campus and just getting an orientation. They're going to housing, they're going to the cafeteria. The parents for one night have to stay away from their children, and the children stay in the dorms, so they're separate for the first time, at least the beginning. We all know what an important milestone that is in family life. Also, we have a lot of summer camps. You know, we don't talk much about our summer camps. They're for K through 12, and they are really, I want you to know that even though, yes, summer camps are great, they were important in my life, we align them to our Common Core standards that are for K through 12, reading, writing, STEM, 21st century skills, and so on. We have 790 K through 12 age students on campus, and one unique thing we're doing this summer is in our expansion and development of our inclusion program, we are making sure that the National Inclusion Project on Autism Pensacola are involved, and they're open to everyone with disabilities and diversity. So we've won awards in this and for doing this in our summer camps, and we're continuing to do that. I want you to know that's kind of humming along in the background. Everybody always notices the cheerleading camps because they're always in their cheerleading uniforms, but the others are there. I saw a bunch of baseball. I had baseball camp this week, and as soon as it stopped raining, I happened to be going over to the Argo Club, and they were out there getting ready to go outside in their golf shirts. And we also have 337 students in the National Flight Academy this summer. So we're participating in that. Again, going to the core, the root of the problem of college readiness for STEM, and these are K through 12. They are participating in a STEM-related camp, which is incredible. We're also beginning the 2 new doctorate programs, professional doctorate programs. Doctorate of Physical Therapy will be open for applicants in a couple weeks on July 1. We can take up to 12 participants for 3 years, and we're launching the program in August of 2014. Classes will start next fall, not this fall. And we also are able to offer $2,500 scholarships to all of them, and also for advisors and tutors. And we have scheduled a symposium. Our partner is University of South Florida, and we have scheduled a symposium with their folks and our folks and the Andrews Institutes to explore joint research opportunities. USF is particularly interested in our partnership with Andrews Institute Physical Therapy. It's a wonderful opportunity. We were the only ones they would partner with because of that. It is their program, and we are their new partner. I just came back from China on behalf of the University of West Florida. I ate until I popped, and I had a wonderful experience. But we are now full-fledged members of something called the Confucius Institute. The Confucius Institute is sponsored by the government of China. They have 300 institutes around the world, 80 in the United States, and their mission is to teach the world about Chinese culture and language by the Chinese, not by anyone else. They pay us $150,000 to support them. They are paid their salary by their university, which is Sichuan International University in Chongqing, and this is good for 5 years. I didn't know it, but I was seriously interviewed by Madame Xilin, and if I hadn't passed, it would have been all over. I was just really glad that I passed. And she's a very high woman in the Chinese senior bureaucracy and a member of the Central Party. So we're in. There are 2 others in Florida, one at USF, one of the original ones, and where's the other one? FIU, Florida International. And they didn't really want another one in Florida until we convinced them. And my hat's off to Professor Qian Li, math professor who was just stepped down for being chair, and he was my host and guide and set all of this up. We also signed agreements with 3 other universities in China, Shanghai Normal, Zhongjin, and Sichuan International. And we will be having programs with them, students with them, exchange programs with them. The Chinese middle class, as you know, is limited to 1 child. And they start saving for the college education of that 1 child even before they're married, before their children are born. And they want, as part of their child's education, to be a United States educational experience. They like our size, they like our city, they like our safety, they like our look, they like the fact that we don't have a lot of international students right now, so their children will be immersed in American culture. And I think it's a big step forward for the University of West Florida. Provost Saunders is on top of it. She is a long-time supporter of international programs and the good they do our students and the good we do their students. So it was very, I don't want to say profitable, it was a very productive trip. I'm over my jet lag. I've stopped waking up at 3 a.m. I want to give you just a little note about our research. We submitted 124 proposals. Dr. Podemski's office did, and they've received $22 million so far this year. That's not anything to sneeze at when the federal government is cutting back a lot on its research. So if anyone asks you if our professors do research, the answer is yes, to the tune of $22.8 million just this year. And that money is not easy to come by. Competition is worse, more fierce than ever. Now with development, Kyle and Dr. Marrero and his staff just completed the campaign, our 50th anniversary campaign feasibility study. Our consultants, Alexander Haas, has just completed 52 interviews of how much people are willing to give, what they think we ought to go for. 2017 is our 50th anniversary. They said that we should, and we agree, concentrate on 6 areas for fundraising: scholarships, STEM, health sciences, business and economic development, athletics, and historic preservation. So those are going to be our 6 initiatives. We are going to continue, as they recommend in our quiet phase, to identify and begin to identify volunteer leadership and to begin to develop campaign materials. So Dr. Kelly is going to pick that ball up and dribble it down the court. Pardon the metaphor, he did play basketball. You'll hear it a lot from me. At any rate, he's going to take it and run with it, and it's nicely set up. And thank you, Dr. Marrero and Martha Lee, for that. He's in good hands. Gifts and pledges to date are $15.9 million. That's a lot of money, folks. A lot of money. Recent major gifts: Hal Marcus, $50,000 for community for equipment in health, leisure, and exercise science, the biomechanics lab. Green Simmons Company, $35,000 for community outreach and education core building project. Captain Hoyt and his wife Ann gave $40,000 for the SSE nurse for $25,000 for nursing. The Gulf Power Company comes through again with $40,000 for the Science and Engineering Power Lab. Thanks again to your great company. JBC Inc. for men and women's soccer, $12.5, and we currently have over $9 million in pledges. That's really my news. I want to tell you of a couple of coming events. Staff's having a barbecue tomorrow, Friday, 11:30 in the Argo Galley. The UWF Black Employees Association is celebrating their emancipation. I call it Juneteenth, and that's June 19th this year, and it will be celebrated out on the Cannon Green. If you want a good time, good food and good music, join us on the 19th for lunch and a celebration. Please join us tonight, all of the trustees, for our joint board's dinner at our Scenic Hills Country Club at 5:30 for reception, 6:15 for dinner, and the joint board's retreat tomorrow starts at 8:30. I know you thought it was too long, but Mr. Chairman, that ends my report.
Great report, Judy. Let me ask you one question.
Yeah.
My experience in having spent 3 weeks in China, you talked about all the food you ate. You have any idea what you ate?
I ate scorpions. And the answer is a lot of the times no. I did not know, and I learned not to ask. I just took a portion and ate.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd now like to call on Dr. John Coffey from Computer Science for special recognition.
Hello, everybody. I'd like to thank Dean Jane Hallinan, who invited us to appear here, despite all the adversity she's going through of late, but I'm sure she'll come through fine. I'd like to tell you a little bit about AITP. This is an acronym for the Association of Information Technology Professionals, and we've been a student chapter here at UWF for a very long time. Faye, if you would.
Dr. Coffey, please speak into the microphone.
Oh, of course, and if you, yes. So AITP is a worldwide organization comprised of hundreds of student and professional chapters. We've had a chapter here at UWF since the 1970s, and we carry out a variety of activities in the course of a year. We invite speakers in from the community to talk about matters of interest to people who are pursuing careers in computer science, computer information systems, information technology. We also have field trips where we go out to IT facilities in the community. Of course, the purpose of these is to give the students some sense of what the day in the life of a computer professional would be like. We hold intramural and national programming competitions. Our intramural is typically in January, and it's a precursor to our participation in national. The idea with the intramural is, of course, to identify talented folks such as these who could amply represent us at national. And then, of course, the national programming competition is sponsored typically in the end of March, beginning of April in a given year. Over the past 20 years, our chapter has been in continuous operation and extraordinarily successful. We've won 7 student chapter outstanding performance awards, SCOPAs. These are awarded by the National on the basis of maintaining a high level of membership participation, having a very full slate of activities in the course of a year, and other things such as this. We've also been recognized 3 times as the Region 7 Outstanding Student Chapter of the Year. Region 7 is comprised of South Carolina, Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and Florida, and we've been the outstanding chapter 3 times in the last 20 years. As I'll tell you shortly, obviously we've competed many times in the national, and we used to compete at the regional when they were put on. And we've been supported by the Student Government Association with over $40,000 in the last 20 years. What I'd particularly like to tell you about, though, is our competition at the National in St. Louis this past April. And we actually fielded 6 different teams. We were able, first of all, to take first place in the Java programming competition with Madison Fortenberry and Duncan Calvert. They competed in a field of 31 teams in order to take first place in Java. They received also an honorable mention in the mobile application design. This, of course, is designing applications that would run on an iPhone or an Android, very modern skills. They were able to get their honorable mention in a competition of 18 teams. I view Derek and Everett, we have Everett Lucas here today, Derek couldn't attend. I view these fellows as having suffered to some degree from the luck of the draw. You will notice that they competed in Microsoft Office Solutions and database, but they had over 80 competitors in their competitions. Still, they were able to finish in the top 5 in both, which was able to garner them an honorable mention. So Microsoft Office Solutions is the use of productivity packages, and of course database design is how to lay out databases, relatively complex databases. Then we have our own inimitable Chris Terry, who is actually a technician in the department, and he's a software engineering major. He actually competed single-handedly in 2 competitions, the IBM Enterprise Systems Challenge and Security Scenarios, and single-handedly was able to take first place in the IBM competition from among 29 teams, and second place in the Security Scenarios for the 49 teams. So all in all, it was quite an auspicious year for our chapter, and I'd like to congratulate these fellows.
Here, here.
any questions about the chapter.
Anybody have any questions? We congratulate you, obviously, for the great job you're doing, and to your students for their moving forward programs here at UWF. It's interesting that we'd make this presentation today. Today, the Space Florida folks arrive in Pensacola to spend 3 days moving all through this community, looking for opportunities in cybersecurity and other aerospace types of endeavors that they could sink their teeth into and get involved. So keep up the good work, and we do appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Coffey.
Thank you for having me.
Good job.
All of you have had the opportunity to read the minutes of our last meetings, and if there are no changes or corrections to the minutes, I'd ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. I'd now like to call on Bob Jones for the Academic Affairs Committee report.
All right, we met on May the 8th. The first item that we took up was the adoption of UWF Regulation 3.033, transfer of credit and approval of the language is provided. This item had been delegated to the committee by the full Board of Trustees at the March meeting. We adopted the regulation, and it doesn't require any further action of the board. The committee also considered the approval of conferring an honorary Doctorate of Humane Letters to Dr. Jerry Maygarden at the fall 2013 commencement, and the committee recommends that. We had a couple of informational items. Provost Saunders gave us an update on the technology funding which the university received in a recent legislative session. We also discussed active duty tuition waivers, and she gave us an update that we will be able to, we'll be giving free fee waivers, excuse me, not free, but fee waivers to active duty military for the difference between the amount provided by the military and our cost. And this is about $197 per 3 credit hour course. And that's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Trustee O'Connor, could you give us the Audit and Operations Committee?
Yes, Mr. Chair. We also met on May 8th, and we had 5 action items. And the first one was to recommend approval of the Florida Educational Equity Act report presented by Cindy Ferriera. This is an annual process where the university implements strategic initiatives related to equity and access in academic services, programs, student enrollment, athletics, and employment. Our second action item has 3 parts, and we recommend acceptance of the following audits presented by Betsy Bowers. The State of Florida Federal Funds Audit for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2012 was completed by the State of the Florida Auditor General, and UWF had no findings in this report. UWF internal audits issued 2 reports, one from the Department Audit for the Vice President for Student Affairs Office, and they examined 31 areas of administrative aspects of the office and suggested only 2 minor enhancements. I think that's great. And differential tuition for the audit period August 2011 through December 2012, and the report identified 2 notable strengths and absolutely no findings. Again, we look at the P cards quarterly, and this report was for the 3rd quarter of 2012, and 7 departments were audited, including 22 cardholders. They rated as 1 excellent, 2 good, and 4 fair. And those receiving the fair ratings will take corrective actions, such as mostly just more timely reconciliations. And recommended approval also of the internal audit work plan for 2013 and 14 through 2014 to 15. And this was presented by Betsy Bowers. Betsy plans to engage in 9 audits in 13 in 2013 through 2014 and 8 in 2014 and 2015, in addition to management advisory services. We also had 2 informational items: the external audit, the financial statements audit of direct support organization, the Florida Institute of Human and Machine Cognition for the fiscal year ending June 30th through 2012, and this was presented by Betsy Bowers, which showed compliance with the annual financial auditing. And then another informational item was internal auditing update on the activities going forward, was also presented by Betsy Bowers. That concluded our meeting, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Trustee O'Connor. I'd now call on Trustee Patel for the Student Affairs Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Student Affairs Committee report from May 8th, we had 1 action item. Number 1 was recommended amending UWF Regulation 5.017, alcoholic beverages on campus, presented by Dr. Jim Hurd and Anita Schomburger. The purpose of this proposed amendment to this regulation is to add language discouraging practices which lead to excessive drinking, and to add language encouraging practices which help thwart excessive drinking, and to clarify that the Scenic Hills Country Club is not governed by this regulation. We had 6 informational items. The first one was the summary of retention efforts. Dr. Kevin Bailey provided an outline of progress on our retention efforts. The second one was embracing diversity. Dr. Bailey provided an update on our annual diversity plan and the ways in which we are creating a culture of inclusion and diversity. The third one was developing a case management model for student concerns. Dr. Lusharon Wiley presented the model that UWF is moving towards to coordinate our work with students that have concerns or complaints. Fourth, the accreditation of Educational Resource Center for Child Development. Dr. Jim Hurd and Cynthia Waston reported that the center just concluded an external accreditation review and were recommended for accreditation. Fifth was the student green fees update. Robin Zimmerman and Brooke Mills gave an update on the process SGA used to allocate these funds and what they will purchase with the funds. And 6, the Florida Educational Equity Actual Report. Cindy Ferry provided an update on this annual process where the university implements strategic initiatives related to equity and access in academic service programs, student enrollment, athletics, and employment. Mr. Chair, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Patel. Trustee O'Sullivan, could you present the Finance and Facilities Committee report?
We had 3 action items. Presentation was made by Dr. Jim Barnett, recommending authorization of the execution of an amended Schedule 2 to the Master Lease Agreement approved by the Board of Trustees on March 8th of 2012 between Viesta and BEI. This amendment will reflect that a portion of the Schedule 2 parcel will be used for student housing, hotel, conference center, and restaurant purposes, and will add to the description of the property subleased pursuant to the Schedule 2 an additional 7 acres, plus or minus, south of Campus Drive and across from the hotel conference center. This will result with an estimated 200 parking spaces. Our second action item was recommending approval of the fiscal year 2014-15 through 2018-19 fixed capital outlay plan. This plan is submitted annually to the Board of Governors. Even though PICO funding is not currently available, the list is still submitted to show our facility needs. And our third action item was recommending approval of a memorandum of understanding between UWF and Business Enterprises, Inc., and authorizing the President and Chief Financial Officer to execute the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, on behalf of the university. This MOU is a customary document between the university and our direct support organization. It outlines operating procedures such as internal controls, fraud avoidance, accounting practices, etc. We also had two informational items. The first was the fiscal year 2012-13 operating budget, and a summary of which was provided by Dr. Susan Stevenson, who said the university is in sound financial condition. The life-to-date capital budget is on schedule. The College of Business Education Center, phases 1 and 2 of the 3-year phased project, were occupied in late July, and the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning equipment replacement and improvements in Building 76 are complete. The second informational item was the student green fee update that was presented by Robin Zimmern, and she provided information on the purchasing of sustainable items such as LED lighting in high-use facilities. We had one other item of business, and that was an additional report by Dr. Stevenson regarding tuition and fees. Dr. Stevenson referenced the April 30, 2013 letter that had been sent to the state university system budget and finance chairs and the Board of Trustees pertaining to fees. She explained that UWF will continue to responsibly review all proposed new and increased local and miscellaneous fees, such as lab, material, and supply fees, and other fees as authorized in Section 1009.24 of the Florida statutes. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee O'Sullivan. Trustees, we have 8 items on our consent agenda today. They've all been fully discussed at committee meetings, and the question would be if there are any items that you'd like to have removed for further discussion. If there's no request for removal, then I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. Our action and information items are intermixed on the agenda for today because some of the informational presentations taken place prior to taking votes, or will take place prior to taking votes on a few of those items. I'd like to call on Dr. Bentz now to discuss tenure.
Thank you, Chairman Bear. We, each year at this meeting, we have faculty who have submitted their portfolios for review at several stops along the way, from the department through their college, through the provost's office, to the president, and now it rests with you. We usually have, and we had several applications for promotion, but this year we only have one application for tenure. And the reason it's so low is because it reflects the crash 6 years ago in the budget and the freeze on hiring that we had. So you have to go up for a person in a tenure track has to go up for a tenure review 6 years later in their 7th year, and now it's 2013. And so we only have one. His name is Joseph Herzog. He is in the Department of Social Work. He has passed all of the reviews along the way. I concur, and it will take a vote by you to approve that. And also, Trustee Jones has reviewed the file.
Thank you. I'd ask for a motion to approve the granting of tenure to Dr. Joseph Herzog.
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Aye.
Thank you.
Congratulations to Dr. Herzog. He's one of the few.
Dr. Benz, budget proposal.
Yes. I think I'll just do it from here. Y'all can see the screen. And what I'm going to do today, let's go to the second slide. I don't think I control it, is I'm going to give you just a little bit of an overview of the budget that you approved and we implemented for this year that ends in 2 weeks, of the 12-13 budget. Then I'm going to give you relatively detailed about how we spent our investment dollars. This is over and above the money that we budgeted. We made, if you will, a profit, and we reinvest that in the university. Then we'll talk about I'll give you a quick summary of the legislative investments and the proposed 13-14 budget. Dr. Stevenson, of course, will give you all the detail you care to have, and I will give you sort of the overview. So the current budget, let's go to that pie chart. This are all of our funds. They do not include the $87 million that we have in financial aid because it really is a pass-through. But you can see that the bulk of our funds is made up from tuition, is E&G. $85 million. That's from student tuition and from our state appropriation. We also have other sources of funds, auxiliaries such as dining services, housing, things like that, contracts and grants, athletics, student activities, concessions, technology, and green fee. They all go into a pot. This is what we call recurring money, and we spend it that way. Now, Susan, you stop me if I stumble and, don't, she won't hesitate. Let's go to the next one and look at just our E&G. This is tuition and our state appropriations, and you can see as it goes around, our state funding from the state was only 37% this year of our E&G, which is the lowest it's ever been. The one-time non-recurring cut, you see the orange or whatever color that is, brown, bottom right, like 4 o'clock. That is the reduction that the legislature made in our state appropriation last year, and it's money we took from our reserve. We refer to it as the plug. We plugged the budget and spent it as we needed to spend. It went not for one thing, but for everything. And you can see the other sources of money that we have. A differential tuition was 6% last year, and summer tuition and so on. Let's just give you a quick snapshot of what our budget looked like. E&G budget was $97.6 million. Next slide. Now I want to talk to you about our SPARA, the Strategic Planning and Resource Allocation Process. Every year, Dr. Stevenson says this is how much money we anticipate. Every year, during my tenure at least, we've grown. And that means we've taken in more money than we expected. And the answer was, what do we do with it? And during the recession, we did a lot of things with it. We still are, but there's 2 forms of this money that we invest. We decided to invest. Number 1 is money that Dr. Stevenson thinks that we'll get every year. She books it. We've gotten it for 2 years. It's really based on enrollment growth, and so we treat it as recurring. That means we'll put someone's salary on it. We'll put a program on it that we're very serious about keeping on a permanent basis. The second thing is we have money that isn't booked yet, and a few years ago it was just sitting in a bank account and waiting to be booked. And I asked Dr. Stevenson if we couldn't take some of that money and put it to work in a non-recurring way, not put people on it. But there are a lot of things that we need money for that we can start up with soft money, as we call it, or that we can use for a few years. So I put or the Vice President and I decided to put a 3-year limit on what something could ride on this non-recurring. Our goal is it starts something, it gets someone hired, or it starts a program that we hope to be able to fund. It moves up to recurring. It says it's a priority. Our second priority, first priorities are recurring money. So the money moves from non-recurring to recurring, and that's where the money comes from. It comes from enrollment growth. We didn't used to spend it. Now we spend it and invest it. One of the things that I've been griping about since I've become president is that we haven't had our plan, our strategic plan, drive our investments. Well, I want to tell you, the first year we have done that. It's called the SPARA process, Strategic Planning and Resource Allocation. And we use our strategic plan to guide what we should invest in. You put your money where your mouth is. The mouth is strategic plan, the money is the money. And we measure it using the KPIs that you all agreed on for our accountability measures. Also, we have accountability in reporting. In other words, if we give a program something, some money, we want to know if they did it, what they did with it. And whatever measure it is was set up in their proposal. And then all of that information is on our website. Next slide. This year, this is the full, what do they call it? The full Monty, the full process. We made a call for proposals for investments of our money from all the departments, right down to the Department of Math, the Department of Anthropology, the Department of whatever. And the chairs and the faculty sat together and they decided what they wanted to ask for. The chairs submitted them to the deans vetted them, put them in priority, gave them to the provost, in the academic side of the house, or gave it to the vice president on the non-academic side of the house. The vice presidents vetted them and looked at them, which ones, and they picked, I think, their top 3, and then the vice presidents met. And then they took their top 3 and decided which ones they wanted to invest recurring money in and non-recurring money in. They submitted that to me for my approval or disapproval, and now I'm presenting them to you. You will see this process repeated in the next year, next coming years, if we do grow, and I think that we will. And but that's the process. This is just $3.4 million this year of our next slide. Let's go to the next slide, please. This is how much money we had this year to invest. It was made up of about 1.7, is it 1.7 recurring and about the same, about 50-50 recurring and non-recurring money. And here are the sources: student enrollment, tuition differential, our tuition increase, and bridge funding from reserves. Bridge funding means the non-recurring money we can't book yet. I don't want to just sit in the bank, and we can afford to put $3.5 million in it, into invested. So that's where the money comes from. Next one. So this is the 4 colors are 4 strategic priorities. If you can remember the strategic plan, I know you put through your memory, and I'll go over them. There they are on the right. And this is how the money divided up. You can see that almost 72% is in strategic priority number 1, enhanced student access, and 2, which is sustainable institutional excellence. Distinctive teaching, research, and scholarship is number 3, and a distant 4th is the community engagement. But we will tell you more about that. Don't worry, we just did it another way. We did it through BEI. BEI is handling a lot of our partnerships and community engagement and service. Next slide. I want to break down each one of these. I wanted you to know, at least have a glance at how exactly what we're spending on these. What we're spending in funding in each priority. Within this strategic direction number 1, the enhanced student access, under 1.2, strategic integrated marketing and enrollment management were the primary, the largest investments. It reflects that we need to get our visibility out, our name out, we need to market, and we also need to manage our enrollment. And that's where a good chunk of those dollars are going. We also hired a staff psychologist, we also supported our retention plan, and we also dealt with sexual violence and other things you see on the screen. Next slide. You can see in the top right, number 1, just to keep you, this is our strategic priority number 1, just to remind you, I needed reminding of where we were in the strategic plan and the pie. And you can see that 87% went to student access, and we're very proud of that. Next slide. Strategic direction 2, distinctive teaching scholarship, 25% of our funds were invested in that. And you can see we spent $570,000 of our investment, recurring dollars, on new faculty. We also did other things, promotion and tenure, money for that, and also Academic Technology Center and the other things on the screen. Next slide. And you can see that almost all of it, when you look at it in pie chart form, almost all of it went to recruit and retain quality faculty. Next slide. This is the Strategic Direction 3, Valued Partnerships, and now number 3.2, you can see BEI. This is where we are really cultivating our business partnerships in the community and reaching out to citizens, organizations, and other folks. So that is how we do it, and that's where it is, yes. So it's not really in this budget. Now, number 3, this is just a pie chart to show that, what's on community partnerships. Next. Number 4, strategic direction has got the most money, sustainable institutional excellence, and it got the most money, and there we have our market equity, our institutional branding, which is done through advancement. We also are paying back a loan from non-recurring funds. Banner is in here, College of Business accrediting, things that we have to do to sustain our institutional excellence. And you'll see a P-card auditor in there. We need somebody part-time to look over that. We can't just do it as we're working it into our plan, our activities of our auditing office. Next slide. Next one. Now, I thought I'd give you a quick look by division when you look at all of our divisions, and now we have 6. It's more than we had before. We added institutional, which is our carry forward, our strategic reserve, money that is not really in any division, but it is in the institution. BFF is the Business of Finance and Facilities, which Vice President Stevenson heads up now. President's Division makes up of Human Resources, Small Business, Office of Economic Development, and Engagement is Dr. Brown heads that up. Academic Affairs and Advancement, and you can see that our investments have been focused on academic affairs by far, and it's primarily faculty and hires, and also advancement, which includes the strategic marketing, integrated marketing, and the rest are far below those, and that's the way we want it. That meets our strategic plan and our priorities. Next slide. We thought you would like to see it by functional category. You can see the top 3 are student support is number 1, direct instruction, which means faculty as well as department secretaries, department managers, department support, graduate assistants, and so on, as well as institutional support. And those, that's where we are investing. Remember, this is only $3.5 million, but this is putting our investment money where our strategic plan's mouth is. Next slide. And then we also did some one-time things. It's non-recurring money, which means it's not going to occur again, but these monies will be spent this year. And that's on Banner, which is our new student software package that's going to be wonderful. Deferred maintenance, sidewalk, sewer system, things like this. And student retention and persistent software, so we know where our students are, how they're doing, what track they're in, how many semesters they've been in school, have they dropped out, have they not dropped out. We need software to do that. And so that's going to be done this year. This is out of our investment dollars. Next slide. And this is a slide we've never had in my tenure, and this is legislative funding. I want you to know that that big blue box on the bottom is the $11.9 million that was taken away last year by the legislature, was given back by the legislature exactly as they took it out from operations with no strings attached. And I hope tomorrow those of you that see Speaker Weatherford and President Gates, thank them for that. We did not develop a scenario if that didn't happen. It was just too miserable to put together. We just put our efforts in through Janice Gilley and our friends in Tallahassee, and also Chairman Banner, to get that money back. And they did it quickly, and I want to thank Chairman Bear and Janice for this, and also the other presidents in the SUS. This was our #1 priority. The rest, folks, is extra. These are special projects that we were able to get from the legislature. Again, thanks to Chairman Baird, Janice Gilley, and many of our friends. You can see a small business development center was $4 million, then $2 million to complete Florida. That's Pam Northrop, her group. Those are the stopped out students, former students in Florida, to get them to finish their education, find a way to have them complete their degree in partnership with the college system. The others are the 2 doctorates, and then what's the other? Oh, the retirement system. They funded that. That way, they gave us the money to put into the retirement system, and there was one other like that.
Faculty and staff increases?
No, the staff what?
Faculty and staff increases?
They got a raise.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and they gave us the money for a raise. This was not an unfunded mandate. The legislature wanted everyone making less than $40,000 to get $1,000 to their base. $1,400. Everybody making over $40,000 got $1,000 to their base, and then $600 bonus package that they really haven't decided how we're going to distribute it, and everybody's working on that. So they gave us the money for that. This was a great year, and I want to thank Chairman Baird, Janice Gilley. We all owe them more than we could ever. I mean, when you walk the halls with these two, it's a pleasure in Tallahassee. Next slide. We also got some non-recurring funds from the legislature. That means one-time money, although they will be spent over several years. IT, information technology performance funding. This is the second time we've gotten it, and here's where the Complete Florida, half of that $4 million was non-recurring, and so $2 million is non-recurring. Next slide, please.
Hey, Judy, what is Complete Florida?
It is a program that the legislature has funded, where UWF is in the lead, that develops a way to get the 2 million Florida citizens who have have had some college education but haven't graduated, find a way to get them to complete their degree. It's mostly online, but not all. It's going to be a, I don't want to say nightmare, but it's going to be, we're finally going to have to solve the issue of work experience credits, credits that have expired, that are 15 years old and the courses aren't offered anymore, what kind of courses they have to take. It's not going to be the standard curriculum, what the degrees are going to be in. I mean, who knows what they'll be in, but we're going to solve that problem. They want it solved, and the provost and Pam Northrop and our colleagues are going to solve that. And I think that is a wonderful thing to do, because if the for-profits have showed me anything, they've showed me that there are people out there that want to complete their college education. And they're willing to do it at a horribly high price to the for-profits. They're willing to go into debt for it. That tells me they want it. The legislature sees that, and they're giving us the chance, and UWF in the lead, to solve that problem. They wanted to give it, well, I won't go into the background, but we're very happy that we got it. And it won't be easy, but what's new? You know, what's new? Next slide. This is our 13-14 budget, E&G. It's by millions. Let's see, the number of millions is 110, I think. Yes. And this is how we're dividing it up this year. Academic affairs is 75% of it, like it should be. And this is, you'll see the breakdown of it. I just wanted to give you kind of like my view of how it's breaking down. And summer is, and central is in there too, but that's what it looks like. Next slide. And this is what it looks like in terms of percentages and dollars. This is what you will hopefully approve in a little while, but another version of it with dollars and columns and rows. Next slide. I wanted to also show you a little bit about our investment trend and budget trend during the recession. The thing I want to call your attention to is not the academic affairs, but the others. I want you to see the beginning number and the ending number on each suite of columns is where we were in 2010, and where the end one is where we're now. And you can see the numbers in the 6 columns, other than academic affairs, have stayed flat, gone down, gone up a little bit. But you can also see that academic affairs has gone from 57 million to 75 million. And that shows the dedication of the other vice presidents during the recession to take deeper cuts, to not get much of the investment dollars in their divisions, but to make sure that we have quality faculty. We hired 47 new faculty during the recession, many, and we retained many, many universities laid them off, and we did not. And we didn't, and this is a graphic to show how we didn't. And the reason why we didn't is because we think that's the most important core of our mission. Next slide. This is by functional category, same picture, although it's different. Here, instruction, academic support, institutional support, and plan operations are the big ones, but when you add up student services, academic support, and instruction, that's where our money went. And I just want you to know as trustees where we are spending the money that we are all responsible for. And I think, in our opinion, this is the right path. Next slide. This is the blessedly last slide, and it shows you all of our funds, excluding financial aid, $175 million. This is nothing to sneeze at. This is how we propose to spend it next year, and where the money, no, this is where the money is coming from. Sorry, this is the sources of money. And for the first time in a long time, the state appropriation is 52% and tuition is 42%. So the balance, last year the tuition was higher than the state appropriation for the first time. Now that's reversed thanks to the legislature. So thank you for your attention, and that is my overview of the budget and the investments we're making with the funds that we have available.
There are questions? Thank you, President Benz.
I have just one,
Of course.
Sure.
maybe a question or a comment. You know, Judy, when you look at those graphs that your staff's put together, you know, if you try to look at the future, when I look at those graphs, my concern is that the areas that are flat or just nick above, nick below have to do with the investments necessary to maintain the infrastructure on this campus. The university's been very fortunate to get investment dollars in new buildings, beautiful new buildings, much needed new buildings. And what you don't see is the dollars behind it to maintain those buildings. And that's a huge trend that this Board of Trustees has to figure out a way to influence at a state level, because those beautiful new buildings aren't going to last very long if they cannot be well maintained. And this campus, as it grows, it so grows its deficit in terms of maintaining its infrastructure. So when I look at that, while I love seeing the student investments, which have to be, that's what drives this university, but students have to have good facilities to learn in and be active in. And so for me as a trustee, that's one of the great interests I have in my role, is to try to help figure out how do you deal with the deferred maintenance, how do you find and convince the legislature that, you know, if you build the building once, it's got to be commitment more than spending money one time. It's got to find a way to be committed to maintain that structure, that infrastructure over a period of time. So lack of PICO funds can skew a look at a budget. You know, it looks good. It's sort of a fun house. You look heavy going in one end and skinny coming out the other. Mirrors are wonderful things.
Well, one thing the legislature did this year, Mr. Chairman, if I may, is they know that, and they took $700 million out of general revenue and put it into the PICO fund. And they can't do that forever. They know that. It's not enough. They funded a couple things, one thing for each university, and that, you know, then it was gone. But you're right, that bell has to be rung loud and long new source of revenue has to be generated for that. We all agree. Every Board of Trustees and every president is singing the same song.
Thank you. Any other questions? Let's take a 5-minute break if we could, and then we'll come back for a student overview.
Let's hear it for Chairman Bear.